As I speak, Ghanendra Limbu is in hospital, where for 2 weeks he has helped me to put together this story in a manner that I hope will be befitting. Before I begin, I hope that the House will join me in wishing him a swift and full recovery. Yeah. Nepal is a country smaller than the UK, bordered by global giants China to the north and India to its south. Its highest point is Mount Everest, and it is from Nepal that for over 200 years the UK has drawn some of its most resilient, courageous and loyal soldiers. Ghanendra was born in the mountainous village of Karmalung, with its population of 900 on the 27th of January 1960. Like many across Nepal, he grew up in poverty, despite both parents working long hours as farmers. The ambition to one day join the Gurkhas and serve alongside the British Army, as did some of Ghanendra's uncles and cousins, was a route out of poverty and into a life of expedition, but it was an ambition shared by hundreds of thousands of young Nepalese. At school, Ghanendra excelled in football and basketball, but his English was also exceptional, which would soon prove pivotal to his future. Ghanendra travelled to the recruiting centre near Kathmandu and applied to join the Gurkhas in 1977. The recruitment process was robust and highly contested by tens of thousands of applicants. To join a brigade, only 8,000 strong. Ghanendra was the only member of his village to pass selection. His parents were immensely proud of their son, but his success also meant that he would soon leave his family behind to travel to Hong Kong to begin 11 months of training. In Hong Kong, Ghanendra, with his rural background, learned how to survive in conflict and operate various weapon systems, including the Nepali kukri in hand-to-hand combat. His field engineer training then took him to Kitchener Barracks in Kent, where he trained as a driver and a field engineer. Throughout this period of training, Ghanendra and his fellow Gurkhas were vaguely aware of the increasing tensions between Argentina and the UK over sovereignty of the Falkland Islands. On completion of Ghanendra's training, he was assigned to the Queen's Gurkha Engineers, which provided the British Army with builders, plumbers and electricians. Ghanendra was selected to train as an electrician, but before he could begin his specialist training, on the 2nd of April 1982, Argentina seized the Falkland Islands, 10,000 miles from Nepal, and which Ghanendra recalls he could barely identify on a map. Britain declared war, and Ghanendra's platoon commander immediately reassigned him to begin pre-deployment training. On the 12th of May 1982, 8 days after HMS Sheffield had been sunk with the loss of 20 personnel, British ocean liner QE2 embarked for the South Atlantic, carrying Gurkhas, Scots Guards and Welsh Guards. 2116-2121 Sapper Limbu and his fellow engineers later boarded at Ascension Island, and he recalls being ordered to prepare to fight immediately on arrival into theatre. But most had never travelled by sea and were constantly sick over the next 11 days. Over the course of the war, to the 14th of June, throughout which Britain lost 6 ships, Ghanendra and his engineers remained aboard the QE2, knowing day and night that they too could be attacked. They remained aboard long after the war ended, to clear ordnance which littered battlefields across the islands. But Ghanendra, he states, was never trained in minefield clearance. On the 1st of December 1982, he was attached to 49 EOD Squadron, Royal Engineers, and deployed by helicopter to Two Sisters Hill. Members of 49 EOD located an unexploded Russian anti-aircraft rocket and began to initiate a cordon. Ghanendra was closest to that rocket when it detonated. He regained consciousness several hours after evacuation at Port Stanley Hospital, where he was told by a doctor that he would lose his eye and that his hands and legs were badly injured. He was told that he'd be returned back to the UK for treatment before he passed out. He was first moved to Ascension Island on the 4th of December, where he received further treatment, and he remembers being unable to pass urine. He remembers being given another injection before again regaining consciousness at Queen's Hospital in Woolwich. He was blind in both eyes for 2 weeks, during which he was operated on by Colonel Youngson, who told him he was lucky to have survived at all. Following 6 months of treatment, Ghanendra lost one of his eyes, but retained sight in the other, and he kept limited use of his hands and legs. Throughout these 6 months, Ghanendra cried day and night. His hopes of a long army career as an electrician were over at 22. The magician, as described by his teammates on the battalion basketball team, would never play again, and his days on the right wing of a football pitch were over too. After his discharge from hospital, Ghanendra returned to Kitchener Barracks, wanting to seek legal advice, but was ordered not to leave camp. In 1983, he was told he was no longer fit for the army and flown back to Hong Kong. He was physically and psychologically broken and would have nothing to offer back in Nepal. He was offered a partial pension by the UK government, amounting to 40%. It was worth 500 rupees, less than £2.50 in today's money. The UK sent this man, who travelled 10,000 miles to serve the UK in the Falkland Islands, back to Nepal with one eye, a walking stick, and £2.50 a month. Shame on us.